All right, we're excited for this one. Randy Rogers and Wade Bowen. It was fun for us because we premiered that Hold My Beer video a few weeks ago. Really fun video. You guys got a bunch of clips of people just having beer fails and things. How many videos or submissions did you guys have to go through to kind of pick the craziest for that video? I assume quite a few people wanted to be in that thing.
Like at least, I don't know, what, 50,000 something?
Jesus.
No. What do you think, Wade? 2,000?
Yeah, probably, I'd say between 1,000, 2,000. I don't know. We kind of lose track after a while. You just start filing through them and trying to figure it out. The guys that helped us.
The one that stands out to me was the basketball challenge. The beer on the basketball. I'm like, what redneck came up with this?
There's some challenges I just don't get. That's one of them.
Yeah, right. You're only going to hurt yourself.
I mean, the only one I did the ice bucket challenge. I did that one. But all the other ones I haven't been a part of.
That was for charity, though. It's like
good cause. These people are just drunk, bouncing a beer on their.
Well, it's like the older you get, and even for us, we're seeing this. It's like the best way to get drinking games, all that crazy shit. Like the most enjoyable way to drink is just to drink for me now. It's just fun, just to drink. I don't got to get crazy. I don't got to get all fancy and beer bongs and shotgun's good here and there if you need to. You're in the right environment, but it's like, I mean, you guys play rowdy shows, right? Like your crowds are. I'm sure you guys have seen some craziness with the fans out there. Have you guys ever yourselves had a little too much and then gone on stage, or had a funny story about partaking in a little too much of the pregame activities and then getting out there?
Plead the fifth.
Oh gosh, I don't know if we want to start those stories, do we?
Too many to count.
Well, Wade's a little older than me. He started his band a little bit before I did, but after doing this for 21 years now, there have definitely been I remember one frat party when slapping the bag became a thing. And so they would like crowd surf, and then they'd be on each other's shoulders, and then the bag would come out of wine, and you'd slap the bag, and then all of a sudden the bag's on stage. That definitely happened. And then our guitar player is a beer drinking fool. His name's Jeffrey Hill. And I've watched him at frat parties do keg stands with his guitar strapped on, and then turn around and play a lick.
Oh, that's good.
We were playing a show and we were playing a festival in College Station years back, and I lived way in the back, and it's one of those. It's chili cook-off, so it's like a huge chili fest out there. It's a huge thousands and thousands of people, sea of people. And you look way in the back when I was on stage, and literally these guys had a full-size refrigerator, a white one, that they were carrying all the way from the very back, and they made it. The crowd just parted like Moses, and they worked their way all the way to the front with this whole refrigerator full of beer, and they put it down. And of course, the cops came up and were like, "You can't have that." So they had to pick it back up and go all the way back up.
That's impressive.
I love too how the cops' response is, "Nope, take it back." Not like you're under arrest, not anything like it's just nope, get it out of here.
Oh yeah, they don't want to rebel there.
Chili Fest in itself, like some of the greatest stories of all time. We filmed a video called "Trouble Knows My Name" there, and we just got all this amazing footage. And the best part, like all the buses are parked backstage, and that's where the drunk tank is. So like everybody getting an MIP or getting public intoxication is like outside the bus, like zip tied, sitting there on the little bench, like bawling, like, "Oh my God, my parents are gonna kill me." And we're just sitting in the bus, like drinking, looking out the window, just like, "Hey, how are y'all doing?"
The show after the show.
Great time.
Yeah, I heard great things about Chili Fest. And also, Wes, what was the
Larry Joe Taylor Fest is another one. I've seen videos, I've never been, and it looks absolutely insane. Like every year it's trending. There's like videos that pop up on Twitter of shit that I'm not going to even repeat because it's just obscene and awesome and crazy and wild. And of course, some of the best Texas country music on the planet there. Is that the biggest party every year? or is like Chili Fest? Like, what's the biggest party in Texas?
They're different. They're very different.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you could camp out for a week at Larry Joe Taylor. So just think redneck Woodstock. You know, I mean, it's debauchery. It's people not showering for days and days on end. It's
one of those festivals you prefer to be on stage for sure than out in the crowd.
Yeah, I feel like you get to an age, even like there's a lot of festivals even in the Midwest, and like you got Country Thunder and some of those, and the camping element. Sure, it's fun, but you got that humidity, you got the hotness. You're not showering. You're getting to that age. You're past the age of 23, 24, 20. That's a rough few days. Like you need to take the next week off of work. Like I don't even know how you would function again for.
Back in the day, it came a monsoon and we were in the van. So, you know, we went through 88 Suburban and then 2 vans before we ever got into a bus. With this particular Larry Joe Taylor festival, we were in a van and it came like a monsoon rain. And there was too many of us like all fit in the van. So I hid underneath the stage, right? And then I got my eyeballs on this dump truck. And I'm thinking, I could go to that dump truck. And so I ran from the stage, just pouring down rain, and basically slept in this abandoned dump truck that was backstage. That was my tour bus for the evening.
Those are the good stories, man.
The good old days, right? Rough.
Well, you know what
I don't know if they're just old.
But yeah.
They old.
Well, I was gonna wait before you jumped down. We were kind of just shooting the shit quickly and brought up baseball. And Randy, you ran into Koe Wetzel at the Rangers game, and we had an experience with Koe, who's one of the sweetest guys ever. We always tell everybody, but an animal when it comes to drinking, where you just tap out eventually. Like Wes and I, we were like, I got to get home. I'm a newly married guy. This is the worst thing I could be doing right now. I was like out drinking all night until 6 a.m. But you were saying you just ran into him, and then it was a good place to stop because it was early in the game, right? Second, third inning or so. And it was like, if you keep up with that, it's going to be rough towards the end of that.
I had some really good seats, and I was down real close. And I'm a huge fan of baseball, so I was really into it. Like I didn't even get up to get a beer or go to the restroom or anything. I was really soaking in the day. There was, 50,000 people there.
God, that's nice.
Whatever the total was, and it was just one of those just opening day of a brand new ballpark, moments. And just being a fan since I was a little kid, it was just, awesome for me. So I really wasn't even looking around. And then my buddies that ran to get beer came back, and they were like, "Dude, Code's got this suite." And I was like, "Okay, I'll walk up there." And so then it was someone's birthday, and we ended up on a party bus, and we went back to Texas Live. And about 45 minutes into being at Texas Live, somebody was bringing bottle services. Shit was on fire. There was security everywhere. And I was like, I think it's time.
Time to go.
Time to go. So
I'll tell you, we've been drinking a long time. I don't think I want to try to hang with Koe in those movies anymore. I think they might do me in.
Luckily, I was with some very wealthy friends, and we just hopped on their plane, and I was home by 9:30.
See that?
That's in too much trouble.
That helps, right?
Half the people in Texas got to go ahead.
The good question is, what happened with Koe, and then when you left, Randy? I want to know this story from the rest of the night from them.
All I said was, "Thank y'all," and I know today hurts. Is the next day is what I think.
Well, Koe's Twitter kind of tells you the whole story. It's like, if he'll tweet at like 2 p.m. You're like, he just woke up and he's tweeting from the night before right now. Usually, you can tell. Usually, it's kind of the first tweet of the day. But
it's funny because like Wade and I came up before cell phones. I mean, come on, really, we didn't have social media. Think about Wade if you and I would have had social media back in the 2004 at the Blue Light.
I'm very thankful we did.
I was saying to Steve even before we started this, like, I feel like you, Randy Wade, and then even like Josh Abbott and Pat Green, like the godfathers of the modern Texas country scene, like to us, because like right when we were coming out of high school, like you guys were like the main artists, and like I was looking back, I'm like, fuck, that's been a long time.
Yeah. And Joe's Bar is a great example. Like we went to college in Chicago, down the street from Joe's Bar. and I know like you guys have played there and been there and I was like, oh, I can remember that from the college days, seeing a name on there, or like a Windy City Smokeout from years ago, or whatever. Yeah. So it's awesome though. But it's kind of what I love about Texas music in general. You guys just seem to have a really great camaraderie, but like you guys bust your ass touring like crazy. It seems more than anybody. And then it always seems fresh, even if it's like your veterans or whatever. It always seems kind of like still has the same kind of draw for me. And I think we got a little jaded with the whole like mainstream world as we're doing our business. And it's like, as I've gotten a little bit older, and I've said this a few times now, but now it's like Texas, I just like go to that music more because I just feels more, I can just turn it on and enjoy it and feel it. And it's not this like, oh God, here's somebody chasing a radio thing, but like you guys like put in the work. I just feel like that's like such a big, the road work. Like you're just out there doing it and doing it for years and years and years. Do you think there's like a difference there with kind of the way you guys come up from there versus maybe mainstream, so to speak?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with all of that is that we have to prepare differently for our records. If you look at us over the years, we have to prepare every song, every record. We have to prepare to go play it live. It's not a matter of whether it can be played. If Randy and I get played on the radio, then great. But our focal point for our records and our songwriting process is to go play them live for people. So,
it's funny. What's funny to me is,
honestly, say Randy's saying as much as now as we ever have.
Yeah, I was gonna say what's funny to me about the whole thing is, like, for years, years and years I existed on this, record label, Mercury Records, MCA Records, Universal Music Group, and we would go play, let's say, in the East Coast somewhere, and people would say, "Oh, you're from Texas, man. You sound just like Pat Green and Kevin Fowler, and you guys are just a Texas thing." And I mean, Pat Green and Kevin Fowler couldn't sound more opposite of each other. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to me because, like, if you were just talking about Koe, or even Koe and Parker McCollum, two dear friends like Wade and I, and they sound completely different, but they're lumped into this category that is, Texas music. And I think, quite frankly, the Nashville acts and the national artists sound more like each other than the shit that comes out of Texas, because you can't tell me that Whiskey Myers sounds anything at all like Koe Wetzel or Pat, right, or Randy Rogers Band for that matter. So it's just so interesting that because we're from Texas, we get pigeonholed into being, Texas artists. And quite frankly, I think people are jealous that we can make a living and tour and fans actually care and want to come out and support live music. To be honest, I think there is a bit of jealousy that exists.
I think so too.
Well, and I think too, that's like the authenticity to kind of like be yourself in Texas too. It's like, I know I'm going to tour all over the state. I'm going to build fans each show I play. And then over years and years and years, you build a real loyal following where it's like, I don't have to like do all these like radio gigs across the country where I just like do the pony show and hope that they play my song on the radio and then hope I get a number one. And, I got one number one. Well, now I got to try and replicate that to keep the label happy. So I think it's just, that's where for me, like the parallel, like it's just completely opposite. It's build fans or build radio hits. And I think Texas artists in general just do a great job of being themselves, building fans, and then playing shows.
Well, I think it's also out of necessity, right? Because we weren't afforded that opportunity to have national radio airplay. We had regional radio airplay. So we knew that we could go to Waco, where Wade's from. We'd go to Waco, play a show because we had radio there. We'd go to Dallas, Fort Worth because we had radio there. And then as we grew, Wade and I had pockets of radio all over the country. So we go to Chicago and we do okay there. We go to Kansas City, do okay there. Atlanta, okay. But never, breaking through at that radio level. I don't know that it necessarily hurt us. It could have helped us. Wade and I talk about it all the time. Like if we would have had a bigger, splash at national radio, could our lives be different? I think the answer is yes, but I think the the real truth to that is it might be different in a worse way.
Yeah. At what cost is it different? You know, because it's tough, right? It's like one note I had down is like what we see is like, even if an artist is good and, you know, objectively people would think he or she is really good, but they're kind of get sucked into mainstream mediocrity of like chasing a hit. I feel like the folks we talked to from Texas seem to have a much more stronger grasp of who they are and what they want to build as their own brand, so to speak, versus this puppeteer above you kind of saying, I don't know, maybe this would be a good way to go. Maybe that way it'll be a good way to go. And then that just doesn't last. Like, how many examples through history do you need to see with artists where like, we know I don't care how many number ones they have for a 7-year stretch. It's like, you know, it's going to be over soon. You know, there's so many of those in like kind of the national world or national radio kind of spot. But I don't know, you guys just do it the right way. That's kind of like the feeling we get as fans. That's why when people ask me who aren't country fans, hey, who should I listen? I throw out names like Wade Bowen and Randy Rogers and Whiskey Myers. And I'm like, yeah, this all sounds different, but to me, this is all kind of like what I like. So try this out. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we tour, you know, throughout the country, and we get, you know, the sentiment that you just described. I mean, that's people come up to us and knock on our bus doors and explain to us that they're thankful that we're there. Now the theater maybe only holds, you know, 1,000 people or whatever. And we've got 850 in there, but those 850 people are hungry for something different. And it's nice to be able to be, you know, described as something different.
One thing I think
music too is it's so hard to put your finger on what makes something work and what doesn't. You know, I think if you love music and you love playing, you just figure it out. And for some people it works to go do the mainstream thing and, you know, chase the radio singles. And some people it works, like for us, to go work our butts off and go tour. So I don't think there's any rhyme or reason or wrong or right. You just figure it out. I mean, I think you got to love playing music as much as we played on the road for 20 something years, you know, 150 shows a year. You got to truly love your job and love what you're doing. And hopefully that comes across when we walk on stage, because I know, like I said earlier, I love my job as much or more now than I ever have. And that's really comforting to know when I walk on stage and I'm enjoying it.
Well, I think you guys too have so much fun with it. I think there's an element of that too, where it's like, well, I'm going to go out because I love this. I'm going to put on a show and I'm going to have fun. And it's not so much a thought of like, how can I put on this like show that does something? It's more like, I'm going to go out because I love what I'm doing and I'm going to do it and have fun doing it. You know the nuance that I'm trying to get at?
It's like, you're not overly calculated. We've met so many people that are in like these, it's like so clearly over calculated. They're like reading from a script that they like memorize when they're talking. I'm like, hey,
walk out to the right song. I have to wear the right shirt, and I make sure the smoke is coming when I hit this part of the, you know, kind of thing. And
don't forget the pelvic thrusts.
Yeah, Luke Bryan pelvic thrusts.
You have a few of those in there.
You know who never fell off a stage? George Strait.
That's exactly me on stage. I'm just
you see Alan Jackson too. I love that you get to a level of your career where Alan kind of does like a strum, and then he just kind of puts his hands on top of the guitar,
just right on the guitar like this. I'm gonna keep singing though.
You drink the whiskey, set the whiskey glass thing. Yeah.
One of the parallels that I did kind of recognize between the Nashville mainstream scene and maybe the Texas scene though, and then Wade, you wrote about this in So Long 6th Street, and then on the collaborative album, This Ain't My Town. I'm guessing that that's about, you know, Austin kind of changing into a more corporate commercial type of way, which Nashville looks like Navy Pier here in Chicago these days. It's just tourists and pedal taverns and bachelorette parties. Do you guys feel like Austin has kind of changed that way and the music scene has kind of changed that way, or is it still kind of what it used to be?
I can respond to this because I did live in Austin for quite some time and played on 6th Street, and there's a reason why musicians have fled, you know. The cost of living there, let's just use that as the only example. The cost of living there is, there's no way you can support your family as a musician and live in Austin. There's no way. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
Even the most successful of regional artists, if you want, you know, to raise a family there in that town, you can't be a musician. So, you know, it pushed out some of the things that made Austin cool. And, you know, to use their own slogan, made Austin weird. And it's really hard for us to say anything negative about that scene. But just cost of living alone, if we just use that as the only example, it's impossible to live there. And that definitely has hurt the scene. I think this ain't my town is about Austin. It's about Nashville.
Yeah.
The twin cities of music and musicians have flocked to those cities to find work and to find themselves and to find their sound, and to be accepted for what they are. And it's, you know, it's a shrinking thing for sure. I don't think I don't think it's dead by any means. But I just think it's really hard to do what you love and live there.
Wait, did those songs, did they come from like a real place for you?
Yeah, I just think we're singing it a lot all over music, you know, and everything, you know, the big battle with the streaming, you know, it's like, you know, the musicians are the little man. I mean, they're the blue collar, you know, the blue collar art, you know, that's what musicians are. And so, with the cost of living and everything else, it just seems to be getting, you know, harder and harder to be a musician and to you know, to make art, you know, and to preserve it is really important. I don't think people realize how important, you know, art really is, music is, you know, to preserve it and to make sure that the right people can do it and can do it to the best of their abilities. You just going into songwriters too, you know, I mean, it's the same way. We have to find a way to preserve songwriters. Randy and I are lucky to be artists that write as well, but there's so many fantastic songwriters that we've been lucky to be in the room with, Jim Beavers, John Randall, and Travis Meadows, and so many other people, you know, Jeremy Spillman. There's so many people that are just fantastic songwriters that, you know, I'm really scared for them. I'm scared for the changes that are happening all over, you know, and same with Nashville, you know, it's starting to, the cost of everything is just getting to where it's pricing out the musicians there too. Not quite as bad as Austin, but it's just it's a scary time, man. It really is. And I think we really need to find a way to help. I don't know what it is, but you know, it's always on my mind. You know, these songwriters and these musicians that are really struggling to make ends meet. It's scary.
Yeah, Wes, we posted a couple, like the Tyler Childers quote, which is always a fan favorite about. He's like, "Why would you move to one of the biggest, fastest growing cities in America like Nashville if you're going to write country music?" It's like it doesn't even make sense anymore. Wasn't that kind of the gist of what he said? And it's like you see it when you go to these places like Nashville now. It's like you see it. It's sad. Like you go down Broadway, it's just a train wreck. Like,
can you maybe explain a little bit for people who might not necessarily know how like a songwriting and how the royalty system works and like what kind of money you can make if you don't necessarily get a hit, and like how streaming, because I don't think people necessarily understand that as much. And if you could maybe just kind of quickly explain, like, you know, if you don't get a number one single on country radio, you probably don't make that much money off it and stuff like that.
Yeah, as a songwriter, I heard the other day that a million streams, if you write a song by yourself, 1 million streams equals $1,000.
Jesus. And then you're usually splitting it with 3 people, right? At least.
Yeah, that's if you write it by yourself and it's a freaking smash. You know, the long and short of that answer, that's a very long, you know, answer for that question. But really, if Wade and I sit down and write a song, he owns 50% of the publishing. I own 50% of the publishing. There's a statutory rate that goes along with that. So like if, let's say, George Strait, why not come to George's songs? So George Strait cuts that song. It's like 9.1 cent goes over to the publishing side. 9.1. So, you know, after the trickle down, after you pay somebody that does your admin, after you pay, if you have a co-pub deal with your publisher, because you were struggling artists back in the day and you had to sign a deal
Sign a pub deal.
You gave up half, or sometimes 100% of your publishing, you know, that money goes to them, or you get the shake after that. So there's the trickle down in the music industry. Like some people would say, well, if you play a $20,000 show, that's a lot of money. No. The agent gets 10, the management gets 15, and then your overhead on a $20,000 show is probably $7,500. Then the government gets their take of it. So, you know, it's the same thing in the songwriting in the publishing world, where everybody's kind of got their hand in it. And at some point in time too, there came along this thing where the bigger artists will say, well, I want parts of that as well. If I'm going to cut your song, then you're going to give me a couple points on it.
Change one word and take 30%.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Word for a third. It's a real deal. So, you know, I think that as Wade and I have grown up and learned more about the business, luckily we've had great mentors. Like I've had Radney Foster to help me kind of navigate the waters, and had good management as well. But there's a lot of pitfalls for younger artists out there that may not understand the whole publishing world.
I mean, it seems like a really easy.
Yeah, and
go ahead. No, I was gonna say it seems like a really easy way if you're a young like green person, like artist, to get like lost in the shuffle, like get completely confused, and just even for us as a business, like as you grow, like the tax stuff changes, this changes, that changes. Like if you're a young artist and you're just happy to get even $1 that you earn yourself, that's not a tip from a jar. Like it's really easy to kind of go off. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, yeah, I'll take it. I'll sign it. Wait, I was jumped on you there, but
no, you're right. It's I talk to guys all the time that I'm sure. I know Randy had a management company, you know, and he's always been willing to help. And we both are, you know, we always try to help younger artists because we had the same questions, you know, and these kids come to us with these. The publishing world is it's like going to Vegas, you know. If you don't handle it right, you could lose your ass. And so it's nice to have some help there, some knowledge. But I think it just comes from trial and error as much as anything, you know. But anything you just learn from experience. But try to ask the right questions would be the best thing. And I also want to say, you know, going back to your Tyler Childers quote about why do you move to the big city? I will say that I disagree that, because I think like back in the day, moving to Austin as a musician, that's where everyone was, you know. That's where everyone wanted to be around each other and learn from each other. The same with Nashville. I still go there to write with my favorite songwriters, and so many people moved, and it's always been this way. People moved to Nashville to not only chase their dreams of being a country music star or whatever, but there's so many people that have dreams just solely as being a successful songwriter. And so, you know, to move there, you can chase all these dreams. So I think that's where you're not necessarily moving to the big city to write country music. You're moving to where there's a good group. I mean, there's so much talent right now in Nashville, Tennessee, that down just in some local pub, you go sitting around. I mean, you know, so many talented kids and so many talented people that are there that you can surround yourself with, and you just got to learn how to utilize it best. And so that's what I was talking about earlier. The change of these two cities and what we've seen in both of them is really difficult to witness. Change is sometimes good.
You cut out there for a second.
I think we lost him for a second. No, he's back.
No, that's a great point, because
sorry, my internet's awful.
No, it's not that bad. We've had worse on here, but proximity, I feel like is definitely important. But like DNA can change of a city, but as long as like there's still going to be that root good group of people that are there for the right reasons, I think you're always going to have like good stuff coming out of there. But similarly, like in sports, you hear these horror stories about like an athlete like who busted their ass, who came from nothing, and then they like get some bad manager or some accountant, and then they like all their money is like screwed, and they don't know what they're doing, and it's like it's scary, it's sad. It's like you see that whether it's music, sports, having your own business, whatever,
entertainment in general.
Entertainment, yeah. But to change the gears a little bit, is there anything that
I would say that reminds me, Wade, of when I walked into the studio when we were little, and
we were little.
Well, we were like in our early 20s, and I was like, "Hey, bud, I'm gonna make one of these sharks take me to dinner tonight. That's trying to sign me up." And I was running.
It's like you're at a law firm, like you're at a law school, and you're trying to get a.
Yeah, so I'm running my mouth in like one of the most famous studios in Nashville. I just stopped by to see my buddy Wade, and I was being courted by the major labels and by publishing companies, and I had Roller Coaster had come out, and anyway, it had made the rounds in Nashville, and so I was cocky as hell. I thought I was, the shit.
Hot shit.
And so I go into, I was hot shit, and I went into this starstruck recording studio. Wade's in there, and he's recording with like Grammy award-winning producer who will remain nameless for the sake of the story, and I'm just shooting my mouth like all these publishing companies are coming after me, and I'm going to make one of them take me out tonight to, Ruth Chris, and we're going to get a big steak, and I'm going to put it on their card, and, a bunch of sharks. Anyway, so I leave, and like my phone starts blowing up, and Wade's like, "You idiot, you fucking idiot. Do you know who that was? Like, you can't be acting like that. You're such a fool. Like, do not stop by and ever do that again. You're just a moron." And so, like, years later, so we were nominated for Academy of Country Music Award Group of the Year. And I'm sitting there in my little seat at Bridgestone Arena, looking around at all the superstars that are in there, and I see in the corner of my eye this legendary producer. And I'm like, "Oh shit," he saw me. And he walks up to me. He like shakes my hand. He's like, "Man, that was the funniest shit ever. I thought you were just such a fucking idiot." And I was like, I was an idiot. Great. So, the thing about Nashville is you never talk smack. You never run your mouth because you never know. They call it musical chairs for a reason. The one person that you literally motherfuck at some point is probably going to work for the person that you just hired at the next point, so that's other good advice.
Small town out there. Small town.
Well, it's a crazy small town. Yeah. I was going to ask you guys a random thought I had when I smoked some weed the other day. We're huge George Strait fans, and we brought him up a couple of times here, and obviously Texas roots and all-time legend and all that. But there seems to be this like mythical element to George Strait where he's like, is there any like, does anybody ever see him in Texas? Like, because he doesn't do interviews, he doesn't do anything, obviously, but you just like George kind of got the tequila going and lives
golf carts going.
Got the $25 million golf cart you can buy or whatever it is, and it has the amazing house in the hills of San Antonio or did and sold it. But he seems like the perfect type where he's still around. He'll still release music. He'll still tour a little bit, but you don't really see him, hear from him. In Texas, is it the same way, or does somebody run into George Strait at the grocery store when they're buying a bottle of tequila?
So our dear friend John Michael Whitby, piano player, plays in his band. So John's our age and has been our friend forever. And so we also play George's golf tournament that he does every year called Vaqueros Del Mar, and they help wounded warriors. It's one of the most unbelievable
awesome
weeks of our lives, and the good that George does and the money that he raises for those wonderful people, you never even hear about it. You're right. Nobody knows about it. I think it's designed that way. I do talk to George. I still get nervous around George. This past year, I was sitting at a table talking to George and his wife. I was sitting at a table. I was sitting at a table talking to George after the golf tournament, and they have a jam after the golf tournament. It's like a 3-day golf tournament. It's It's a long tournament. And so I'm sitting with my wife and George and Norma, and I can't remember who else was in there. And I see Wade walking by. He looks in at me and he's like, "You're gonna get out of there right now. You're gonna say something stupid."
That'd be. So Wade, you still I obviously, but like,
I still like we go. Yeah, we go there every year, and I see him. I play golf with him, you know, and I still have trouble even speaking to him. He's the king, man, and yeah, I still am starstruck around him, and he's one of the greatest people you'd ever meet. I mean, he does not act like George Strait at all. He just acts like one of the guys who wants to hang, and that's all he does. But I still, man, he's like Sinatra or Elvis to me, you know?
Right?
I mean, he's that guy in country music, and I hope he's always that way, because he's a cool guy, and like Randy said it best. I mean, he does that deal that we're a part of. He probably raises $2 or $3 million for Wounded Warriors, and no one ever hears a word about it. And that's just one event that he's a part of. I mean, he's just a fantastic family, fantastic people, and you don't hear enough about him in Texas. You know, you just don't hear enough about him. But he's pretty good at laying low and showing up where he needs to and living his life. Pretty privately. I admire him so much for that.
I got a really good George Strait golf tournament story. So
yeah, let's go.
Hear it.
Koe had launched, and somebody
great stuff.
I'm a big fan.
Somebody delivered like 4 or 5 bottles to our bus, and so I took the Rose Koe home, and I was sipping on it. I really like it, and so I was at the golf tournament, and you get around George, you get nervous. I mean, everybody gets nervous around him. He can feel it when you're nervous too. Like, he's been the king for a long time.
Yeah.
So I said to him, I walked up to him and I said, "Hey George, man, good to see you. Thanks for having us on this tournament. And by the way, I really love that rosé tequila." And he looks at me and he goes, "It's Rose, Randy." And he walked off.
Well, when you said Rose at the beginning, I thought it was he called it a rosé tequila. No,
it's Rose.
Well, one of their reps came to our office and delivered some.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell is this? I saw it like rosé.
No, Rose. It's Rose.
Okay.
Oh,
I stand corrected.
Lesson learned.
I felt this small, like this little bit.
I still say rosé. George is wrong.
You heard it here. Wade Bowen says George Strait is wrong.
He's already told.
George doesn't drink the rosé. That's why he doesn't know the name of it. He doesn't drink the rosé. He drinks the other.
It's a clever way to get like women like my wife to want to drink tequila like neat or on the rocks or something a little different. I think it was like I don't know if that was the angle, but it definitely works.
And the angle of this whole show should be Wade Bowen disagrees with Tyler Childers and George Strait.
That's what I'm titling it.
Talk about clickbait.
Woo! It's not clickbait if it's real.
I'm such an outlaw. Yeah.
Outlaw.
Such an outlaw.
Oh, that's great shit though. Yeah, I think I've joked before and like I've tweeted this maybe, but in a fantasy land, I think like my dream would be like to sit on a porch with a couple of rocking chairs, do a podcast. We got McConaughey on one side, we got George Strait on one side, we got some bourbon, we got some tequila, and we just talk about life. What about McConaughey though? Because Randy, you played the event,
the Weird Texas event.
I just saw his video for soccer with I don't even know the
Austin FC.
Yeah, and I'm like, I have my family, I'm first generation European, so like soccer was big. I never played it, but I get it. It's a huge sport and all that, but it just, as far as me watching it like to this day, like no, I don't really watch it. I watch McConaughey talk about soccer. I go, I'm gonna be a soccer fan.
I'm buying tickets.
Yeah, like the guy just has a way to kind of. And that event he put on was amazing. The Post Malone thing obviously went viral, but Randy, you were a part of that. How did that come about? Do you have a relationship with that guy as well? Because you seem to be kind of like a little bit of a godfather.
Yeah, we have a relationship with Jack Ingram, who is a part of that charity.
Okay.
And they called and asked us to, film something. And yeah, Posty's, dude, awesome. That was crazy. Like I had like 50 text messages of that video of Posty doing, country music, immediately hit my phone. And then I was just thinking, why did I even record a video and put it up there? No one watched. No one even cared.
We cared.
Yeah. I can't compete with that. But it's funny because that charity has grown and grown and grown, and our friend Jack has done a really good job of staying connected in that world. And no, do I go to dinner with McConaughey? No. I mean, I've seen him backstage at Willie's Picnic and been around him and stuff, but yeah, he's a movie star. And but he has definitely over the last 5 or 10 years, like, his presence in Texas is real now, realer than it's ever been.
Cool.
Yeah. I did their charity event a couple of years ago. They did it in Austin before the shutdown. It's called Mac, Jack, and McConaughey. It's a great charity event. They raised that one was like 4 or 5 million. So that's
wow.
And I played one of the nights, and McConaughey was back there hanging out with all of us, and we all. I hadn't said hi to him yet, so I was kind of working my way over there, and they wanted us all to get this picture together. So we all got in front of the screen, and all of us took a picture. And then I kid you not, McConaughey like walks out in front of us all, turns around, and everyone just like stops talking. And they look right at him, and he gives like a pep talk. He gives us all like this pep talk before we go on stage and play some songs. And I wanted to like run through the wall and go play football. I was like, yeah.
The Texas
then I introduced myself after that. I felt like he was cool.
The Texas football stuff. I was like, Jesus Christ! Like this guy, man. Like he could be
motivational speaker, man.
If he, but with substance. A lot of motivational speakers, I can't stand them if it's not coming from anywhere. With him, like if he ran for president, in my opinion, he would win. I think he would win. I actually think he's joking. Right. I don't know. I don't think he's joking about it, but like I actually think he's being smart about the way he's dropping those hints. The Rock as well, but it's like you watch that recent video he posted on Instagram talking about values. You're like, I'll vote for this guy.
Right.
Bring it full circle.
I just bought his book, the Green Lights book. I can't wait to read it. I've heard his book is fantastic.
Of the two of us, I think Wade is the only one that could actually run for office and win.
More into politics.
Terrible politician.
I know, me too.
Wade's like the glue to everybody. Everybody likes Wade Bowen. Come on, it's true.
I mean, what do you guys think about that whole McConaughey governor?
Politics. I hate politics.
Me too. Yeah.
I'm in.
I mean, it's just like, yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like when he said that, we posted it. The reaction was crazy. The traffic, the everything. Yeah. So like,
I think in the last year or two, though, he's been such like a kind of a rock star through like some of this pandemic stuff. He'll just get on the Instagram and be like, all right. And then just like deliver the speech. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like, let's all like, I don't know. And then he goes to the UT football games and he's talking to the team, and then he's playing bingo at an old folks home virtually. And I just feel like he's hitting all these like places, and people are just like, it's a great dude all across the board.
Like, Texas in general, though, and Randy, you mentioned it, but like leaving his footprint there. What's your thoughts on, Elon Musk moved there, Joe Rogan moved there? Like you're getting some of these, massive names and company, or some of the wealthiest people literally in the world. People are singling out, I want to move to Texas. The hell with California, I'm going there. You guys like that, or are you guys like, because I moved to Colorado and I started noticing these license plates every now and then that say native. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then everybody's like, well, people are like really proud if they're from here because so many people are moving to Colorado. They want to be like, hey, by the way, yeah, I'm from here. Like, you're welcome, but I'm from here. So what's you guys' thoughts on kind of like the influx of big names coming to Texas?
Well, Wade and I both live in a town called New Braunfels, and it's growing. Like I was at our local restaurant the other day downtown, and the waitress told me the last 6 people that she had waited on had already bought houses and were in the process of moving from California. So Austin and the surrounding areas are becoming inundated with people that are moving here. I was really hoping that our recent power outage and freeze that we had would deter people from moving here. I'm not 100% sold that it's a good thing. I don't think that I can stop it, or any of us can stop it. But, you know, I'm okay with things changing. I'm okay with, you know, people coming to Texas. We obviously live here for a reason. We never moved to Nashville for a reason. We love where we're from. We're born and raised here. I'm going to raise my kids here. I'm fine with it. You know, I think the traffic is going to be bad, but the restaurants.
That's a great way to put
property values go up, right?
That's a great way to put it. The food and the chefs always know where to go when it comes to like a city growing. I see it here in Denver. It's happening in Nashville, obviously in Texas, Austin. So many chefs are wanting to go to these other places that aren't New York City or Los Angeles or Chicago or whatever. But
yeah, if you're out there and you're watching this and you haven't visited Texas and you hear about Dallas, you hear about Houston, you hear about Austin. Yeah, San Antonio is like, it's a gem. It's a wonderful city. There's just so much culture, so much music, so many great restaurants, chefs. The flavor of the people and the city is just absolutely wonderful. You know, we're lucky. We live right in between Austin and San Antonio. So if you want to go to fancy dinner, you can go in Austin. You want to go to San Antonio. But it really is just a historical, just beautiful city with beautiful people. Just that's a little tip for anybody out there.
A great tip. I wanted to ask you guys, because we're winding down here, and I appreciate
very underrated.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that. It looks awesome. Some of the scenes I've seen from San Antonio. But before we let you guys go, obviously as guys who like live and breathe live music and playing for the fans, how hard is this last? I mean, shit. What are we done? 14 months or more? How hard has this last year been? Just not being able to do what you guys do best, especially for you guys who are just like warriors on the road and literally fittingly, Wade, right now you're in a bus right now. But I got to imagine just so excited to start getting the shows back up and running. Wade, I think I even saw you in June, right around my birthday. Actually, you're going to be in Norway. So you're hopping across the pond even to play a show, I believe on June 25th, I think I saw, but it's got to feel good, right? To get back on the road.
We actually canceled though.
Oh, you did? But
bummer.
Yeah, we canceled that Europe tour just because of so much uncertainty. But yeah, we are getting back out. I'll tell you, man, you're exactly right. It's been unbelievable. We played 4 shows. I can't believe it. I'm saying that. We played 4 shows last weekend, and they were all packed, full capacity. We had record merch numbers. I mean, it's just people are anxious. We're anxious. And it's almost like I found myself on stage going, I forgot what this was like. I have to kind of remind myself how to talk to a crowd again and entertain people, because I've been playing backyard pool parties and shit for the last year, you know. So, but I did have a feeling, you know, when I was on stage last weekend for the first time, like you said, in 14 months, it was like, oh yeah, this is why I still love this. It's because of you guys, you know, because of you people that show up and sing our songs. And, I mean, it like almost made me tear up. I was so overwhelmed. It was just, I missed it so much. And I said it every single night on stage. I said, I miss you guys so much. And I really do, man. I feel so good to have some light at the end of this crazy tunnel.
Yeah, I mean, for me and for my band, you know, same 5 guys been together 20 years. You know, 2020 was supposed to be our 20-year anniversary, and we didn't get to have that. But, you know, it does put everything into perspective. You know, it's like what you used to take for granted, you know, no longer do I feel like, you know, getting on stage is a drag anymore. You know, like it's when you do something for that long, you know, it's going to get old to you. And it definitely has lit a fire under me. I've got this really amazing project coming out, the Cinco de Mayo, with this band called La Maquinaria de Norteña that I worked on. It's a half English, half Spanish song. I'm super, super excited about. And that was kind of my passion during the COVID. And then I'm going in the studio with Rodney Foster in May and recording all these songs that we've been writing over Zoom, you know, just like this. We just sit here, and it's just been a crazy new world and an exciting one, in fact. And I've enjoyed my time home with my family, but there's nothing like the fire of being on stage and the rush that is. And, you know, you would think that I would be like nervous up there after all this time off, but Yeah, family.
What's up, buddy?
Yeah,
man.
You would think that I would get.
Yeah, I mean, Randy, you're right. I mean, Randy said it. You know, you get to hang with his girls and stuff. Like, man, this is my boy Brock. He's my youngest.
What's up, Brock?
He's out on the bus with us this weekend because we're just, you know, we're this is what I've been used to for the last year. You know, it's hard to counter the balance between this guy and being home and being out back on the road. Man, it's awesome. And, you know, Randy's right. The silver lining was we got to be home, and now this guy wants to come out on the road with me. You know.
Wait, don't you feel like it's kind of like riding a bike though? Like I was
gonna ask.
I was so nervous to get back up there, thinking we'd forget things or it would feel awkward or, you know, the chemistry wouldn't be there. But for me and my guys thus far, I've got shows tonight. Watch me go screw up, but you know, it's like, wow, man, this is what we were born to do, and we're good at it. We've been doing it forever. So it's been a good
for sure.
Is there a little bit of a like, oh, bummer, we didn't really tour behind the Hold My Beer Volume 2 album like we wanted to in 2020? Because like, were you guys planning on putting some shows together, obviously? And maybe you guys can still do that this year. I'm not sure, but like, because it's kind of tough to put out an album that was like right in the middle of when everything was hitting the fan. Was that
a great album, by the way?
First week of May, and then it's like, I mean, ideally you get out and play some shows together and celebrate the album, and like that just didn't happen. And it's like, well, shit. Does it feel like a lost thing, or is it like, we'll make it up and kind of get back and we still got it?
I don't know if it's a matter of making it up. I don't have that mentality. I feel like we had bigger expectations for the release of that record, but I still think it's a good enough record and a fun enough record that it will stand the test of time, I think. Yeah. I mean, I really feel like it's going to, no matter when we go out and play these shows, when we're allowed to do it again, the songs are there, the album is there, the 2 albums are there. You know, it's like we have a great friendship. We have a lot, obviously everyone can tell that we have a lot of fun together. And that album only adds to that. So when we go out and play this year or 10 years from now, we're still going to be playing songs from that record and having a blast doing it. And so, yeah, I do think it was a loss for the release of the album, but I'm glad we released it. I think it really helped a lot of people get through a really difficult time and lifted their spirits and made them smile a little bit, and saw 2 guys drinking beer, having fun together. And to me, maybe that's more important than the success of a record, you know?
Yeah.
Did you by chance see my cameo that I booked for Wade from Lindsay Lohan?
No.
I'll have to send that to you guys.
Yeah, please do.
Listen to Hold My Beer, the song that we just put out.
Y'all shoot me your phone numbers or emails and I'll send it to you. You'll love it.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great wake up.
It was Lindsay.
That sounds great, guys.
I woke up to Lindsay Lohan. It was awesome.
Yeah, we're out in LA. Shutting down Sunset Strip.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like a ton of fun, and like, I know we're big beer guys, but just you guys, those type of projects too, just in general, like it seems so like inherently just like natural and organic.
Yeah,
that comes across completely with the final product. And I mean, hopefully we can see you guys at a show soon when you guys start popping around outside of the Texas area right now and start coming to other states and whatnot. But we can't thank you enough for spending an hour with us, just shooting the shit and having a beer. And we're huge fans. So honestly, I was a little nervous talking to you guys because I listened to your music for so long. And
absolutely,
but
totally
had a blast.
Well, we appreciate y'all having us, man.
Thanks, guys.
Y'all
Randy,
always been very, very supportive of us. We always have, so we really appreciate it. And believe me, it does not go unnoticed.
I check out everything you guys post on Insta.
Love it. Oh, yeah, thanks. Hey, that's what our goal is, to entertain, inform, and kind of give people just a little laugh here and there, but appreciate it. Have a great weekend, guys. Stay safe on the road, Wade and Randy, and have a great show tonight. And cheers, boys.
Cheers.
See you guys.
All right, guys. Cheers. Thanks for having us.
Yep.